Do you think that, so when somebody comes and sees you, do you guys just have like a checklist of what you first go through, or do you study their tapes and such, or what is the process? I always wonder when someone goes to see an image consultant.
Well, I think we definitely have tips and checklists, and then we have different people that see us for ranges of different reasons. I have friends who, try to get free consultations with me when they have a job interview. And, you just have a general checklist of things to say. And I think for a client, it spans, it really does. It does span the globe on what we're dealing with here, because campaigns are very long. It could go from, hey, I just need some help because I'm walking in a parade. I need to know how to look, to, doing debate preparation, or, preparing them for interviews, or preparing them for like photo shoots for their mailers, or, preparing for photo shoots for the newspaper. So it really just, it goes across it goes across the entire, the life of the campaign and what that client needs. And we sort of play a part in anything that client is putting out as part of their brand or part of their image. Our goal is sort of touch every piece of that.
Oh, so really like building an entire, no pun intended, campaign around it. Basically, you have your hands kind of in all the pieces of that image.
Right. And our goal is pretty simple. Our goal is to not build the message around the candidate, but it's better to build a candidate. It's better for us not to build the candidate around the message, but the message around the candidate and the image around the candidate. So it's not like we're taking a cookie cutter and trying to fit a square peg into a wooden hole, or to a circular hole. We're trying to more so take you, find the essence of you, and make that work for your audience.
And see, that must be so rewarding for the person when all of a sudden they're getting that feedback. Do you know what I mean? That they were hoping for initially.
Exactly. And that's the most important thing, and that's the key. And not only winning your campaign, but also protecting the image that even if you lose your campaign, which our goal is always to win, but even if you lose your campaign, did you project the right image so that if you decide to run again next year, that image is out there?
Do people in campaigns, do they have separate image consultants for their family members?
I don't. No, not of my knowledge. But I will say this about family members. I think it's very important, especially in below the Mason-Dixon line and other parts of the country, that candidates put their as much as it's tough. When you can tell so much about a candidate by how the candidate talks about their family or about their family. And I think a lot of times candidates, they are afraid of bringing their family out, or they're afraid on how to sort of talk about their family. And I think it's very important that a candidate talks about their family, and especially with the caveat for female candidates and candidates that are women. And I'm all about strong women, but I think it's very important that a woman talks about their family, because there's nothing more relatable to voters, especially to women voters, than a mom.
Right.
Because they're a mom.
Right.
And if you don't talk about being a mother on the campaign trail, you're never going to relate to these women, because the women, a lot of times, people end up voting against their self-interest. They vote for the candidate they like. And if they feel that they identify with you, then they're, in all likelihood, will probably vote for you more so than they would vote for somebody else. So it's very important for women to talk about for women to talk about where their strengths come from. While these women might be great in the boardroom, they also have to juggle more than just being on the boardroom. They have to go home. They have to take care of a family. They have to raise children. And if you can raise, my goal is this, and I have a very strong mother, and I grew up with tons and tons of strong women around me. And if you can maintain a family and you can raise a child, then you can run for any political office in the country.
That is so true. It really is, because I grew up with very, very strong women as well, but they were very, like you said, they were very nurturing. I mean, you can be both.
And it's okay to be both. And I think the caveat for men, I think a stable family means that you're a stable individual. That means you're stable to run for government. If you can make, no matter what the candidate is, if you can make dining table decisions, you can make situation room decisions.
Right, because you're relatable. Because obviously, we all have that same. We all have families. So
exactly, and that's what makes you more relatable to your audience. And I think what we're beginning to see, and one place where the Republican Party is very good is they're very good at making their candidates relatable, whether or not, no matter what party you're from. And I'm a Democrat, and I'll say that openly and publicly, and I have no problem with that. But The Republicans are just better at making their candidates more likable and making their candidates more relatable to the American people. They can talk about their family. They can have a whole campaign without talking about the issues and just talking about what makes them them, what makes them, a family person. And people want to hear that because people want like our democracy or our representative government is just that. You want somebody that represents you. And for them to represent you, they have to be just like you.
No, I agree. Well, I'm sad I got to take a break here. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a couple minutes with Richard Fowler talking about image consultation and talking about his company, CEO of Fowler Construct LLC. So stick around. Welcome back to Personal Best right here at 1220 WKRS. We're rounding out the hour. We've got Richard Fowler here, image consultant. And Richard, you have been such fun for me. I'm getting a whole new image.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear. It's really important that people begin to take their image and their brand into their own hands, and that's what we love to do here at Fowler Constructs. I
like that, constructs. And that is, everybody always says, "Well, I am who I am," and I'm not gonna, change. But I think sometimes it can be something small you're doing that really is sending out a negative message. No,
you're indeed correct. It could be something very small that you're doing that's sending out the wrong message, and to change it wouldn't even cost you much, or you wouldn't lose too much of a sleep over changing that one thing that you're doing that you don't know that you're doing that's screwing up your image or the vibe that you're sending off.
I used to do this one. I still do it. It's something I've done since I was a kid. When I'm thinking, I put my hand, I put it through my hair. And I never noticed I did that, but I've done that when I'm publicly speaking. And the only time I ever noticed it is we did kind of a fun switch, with people in the room. Somebody else does just your 1-minute elevator speech. And there was a guy, I'm only 5'1". There was a guy about 6'4", and all of a sudden he was putting his hand through his hair, imitating me. And sometimes I would have never known that because I don't film myself. But those are those little things that actually makes me look insecure. Do you know what I mean? In front of a group of people to be doing that.
Totally. That's exactly it.
See, so we need these pointers for people like you. So tell us how we get in touch with you about your company.
Sure. Well, you can visit our website. You either go to fowlerconstructs.com or you can go to Richard A. Fowler. Last name is FOWLER.com. And it tells you all about me. And if you want to get in contact with me, it has a contact us page there. I'm on social. You can follow me on Twitter at Richard A. Fowler at Twitter. And I'll also be in the Chicagoland area coming up very shortly. I'll be hanging out with one of my good friends, Opal Blake. She's a financial consultant with Country Financial. I'll be hanging out with her the month of September. So if anybody's in the Chicagoland area looking for some image consulting, I'll be there.
Oh, wow. So we can see you live.
You can see me live.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. If you had one last tip, we only got about a half minute left, but if you could give one tip, one quick thing that a person could do to change their image, what would it be?
My one tip would be browse the fashion magazines. Don't be ashamed if you're a guy to look at the GQ magazines, and don't be ashamed if you're a woman to check out the new outfits that are happening that season. You don't have to buy the garment, but you can get an idea of what the market's putting out there, and you can alter that to you.
I like that. I think that's a great tip. One more time, how do we get to your website?
It's richardafowler.com, RACHARDA, Fowler, FOWLER.com.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for being on the show today. You were great fun and a good sport.
Oh, thanks for having me, and let me know when you need me back again.
Okay, great. Well, I don't know. I'm going to get a whole new image now, I think. What are you going to do? I might have to spruce up a little bit.
I know I'm changing my whole wardrobe now. I got to get rid of that pink paisley tie, I think.
You can have the pink paisley tie. You just got to wear calmer colors with it. That's it.
All right, fair enough.
There you go. Well, Richard, thanks again for being with us. And thank you to all our listeners today for being with us. We had a lot of fun, as usual. Make sure you stick around all this week. We've got some great guests coming up. And don't go anywhere because Dave Ramsey's coming right up. And as always, we stream live on WKRS.com. So have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.